It's not shown on maps of the world or even on small maps of the United States. But a traveler driving along the coast of Connecticut is certain to come to Milford, a community of 18,000 people. Milford is prettier than some towns and older than most. But the important thing about Milford is not its age or how it looks, but that as a community, a place where people live and work, it is like other communities all over the United States. The story of how Milford began.
That goes on for, I think, over 20 minutes. But wow. Welcome to Milford Radio.
Milford.
Milford.
I think I'm going to open a cosmetics store on the Green. Like that was there. Was that like 40 years ago, 50 years ago?
Yeah. I don't know how. I honestly don't know. That was I found that on Facebook. I have no idea what that is, but they did say that the population was 18,000. So that's quite a long time ago.
You're definitely going back like 1940, late 30s probably. I think Milford's like population, not to jump in here, but it went, I think in the winter months, Milford's population was like 15,000. In summer months, it went up to like 30-something thousand, or like more than like doubled.
Yeah, wow.
So it was like a tourist beach town.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people just come down from northern Connecticut all the way down to Milford and hang out at the beach.
Yeah,
that was a vacation destination.
Right, that's right. How did this technology put Heisa in the middle this time?
Yeah, I don't know.
I have no idea. I don't know. I feel like I'm moving up the ranks, so sorry.
What I do?
Now I'm the meat in the sandwich.
That's right.
What I do?
So welcome to the show. You're listening to Milford Radio. I'm Mark Kaminsky. As always, we have Chris Heisa and Dan Zeke with us. The opening video was something that we found on YouTube, thought it was pretty cool. We're going to play, it's around 20 minutes. We'll probably play another minute or two after the show. So if you're interested in that, you could take a view on that. Guys, last week we had Dan Worrell on the show. It was interesting. Disco Dan is his nickname. It was an interesting article. The guy seems to have his hands in a lot of different things.
He's been around the block for a while. I mean, he was in the fire department, and then, he got involved with all the recreation department, and now he's on the commission, and he's an all-around Milford man, that's for sure.
Right. That's interesting. I just posted the link. If you want to join the show, there's my buddy Caden checking in on me, making sure I'm here. But the link is in the comments, whether you're on YouTube or on Facebook. You can join the show anytime you like. It's like calling into a radio show, but you can put up your face. It could be live video, or it could just be audio if you don't want us to see you, or the viewers see you. And also like us on Facebook and YouTube, and you'll get notified of all the interviews that we do, all the shows that we do. And it's always interesting to have you join us, and we appreciate that. This weekend is Father's Day. It's a big weekend. Heisa, do you have any plans going on? Zeke, you probably have a child somewhere around this world, but we're not going to celebrate for you.
I think so. I go through that day hoping I don't get that phone call, Hey, Poppy.
Heisa, any plans for you?
Nothing too much planned. Laying low. I think we're going to Rhode Island for Friday, Saturday. They're opening up.
They are.
This little shanty hotel that we like to go to with the little pool and on the beach. So do that for a couple days, and then come back for Sunday for a little barbecue with the father-in-law and whatnot. It's gonna be awesome. Looking forward to it.
I'm doing the same exact thing. We're getting the family out of town for a little bit. We're going down to LBI in Jersey just to enjoy some sun, some social distancing, basically away. I know we've had so much time together as a family, but there's just been so much going on. I mean, even with stresses and anxiety and stuff like that. So we felt the same thing. We're getting away for a couple of days, enjoy, that's like my Father's Day gift, is just to enjoy some time on a beach and enjoy it. So, so happy Father's Day to all the dads out there that are listening or watching. With that said, we had some.
Cheers.
Yeah, absolutely. Cheers.
Cheers.
The beaches. This was a big on social media. There was a big conversation going on about Walnut Beach. I think it was Friday, if I'm not mistaken. There were, it looked like hundreds. I mean, all we saw were certain pictures from social media. I was not personally there, so I really don't know. The pictures made the scene look like, and I guess there was some video too. We actually, the three of us watched a video of someone getting jumped and there was a fight and things like that. But the pictures on social media were mainly, it looked like large crowds of younger people. And the Milford residents, especially the people who live in that area, were like, first of all, that's not social distance. Two, the Milford beaches right now are supposed to be for Milford residents only. And not saying that those people were not Milford, because you don't know. So basically it was thrown back on Milford to say, you could say these beaches are for Milford only, but how the hell do you know? Like, who's checking? Who's doing all these things? So I actually, my wife and I went for a walk, I want to say Sunday. We did the boardwalk, the Silver Sands, Walnut Beach area. And it was great. I mean, there was plenty of people on the beach, but everyone was kind of distanced out. I will say though, there were cops everywhere. In the Silver Sands parking lot, there were state troopers. And then we made it all the way over to Walnut, and there was 4 Milford cop cars at the entrance. Then there was one at the end of the parking lot. And then there was another one in the big parking lot. So it was like the presence alone, I don't know what they were doing because we were walking, so we didn't park there. But it was interesting. I mean, did you guys hear anything about this?
Yeah, I mean, we all watched that same video, and definitely a lot of opinions on Facebook pages and everything else about the number of people there, and well, not only not social distancing, but not picking up after themselves and everything.
That was big.
Leaving the beach a mess. A lot of complaints on that. People walking their dog by and, just witnessed, 50, 100, 150 people. Most seem to be underage drinking on the beach as well.
Right.
So, I didn't see it, but this is what was, shown on social media there. But it's something that has to be monitored in this time, otherwise, they probably wouldn't even care. It probably wouldn't have been an issue, but we all
any other day
we all have certain rules to live by and social responsibilities. And, doesn't matter the age or resident, you got to live by them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I know when the beaches first reopened, the rule was you couldn't hang out or lay out on the beach or whatever. You could only walk along the high tide line to, it kind of was a natural, socially distanced way of going to the beach. But that seems to have obviously changed. And now with everyone dying to get out of their house, and, it was beautiful weather last weekend. So, the crowds, were there as we saw. It's you kind of wonder how they're going to regulate it, because people can just walk on, they can park down streets and walk on, I mean, is it the lifeguard's responsibility to ID everyone? Is it the parking attendant's job to ID people on the beach? I mean, how do you regulate it? That's the biggest thing.
Right. I totally agree. One of the things that they did do that, again, this was on social media, so I don't know, and we all know social media, you could believe maybe 5% of what you see. But regardless, Ben Blake, the mayor, put in that if you're not a Milford resident and you're parking on certain streets, you're going to get a ticket. If you're on the beach and you're not a Milford resident, you're going to get a ticket. If you have alcohol in your they're checking coolers. If you have alcohol in your cooler, you're going to get a ticket. And I think all those tickets are $90 each. But what they started doing, what was the big change, what they started doing on Saturday is they were towing cars. So that's one thing. Like, let's say I'm from, I don't know, Fairfield, or I'm from wherever, and I drive because the Milford beaches are open. I drive here, I park, and I go to the beach. I enjoy myself. I come back to my car. There's one thing that there's a $90 ticket. That sucks. But there's another thing when you walk over and your car is gone.
Yeah.
Like, all right, I might not be using the Milford beaches anymore. And pre-COVID, who cares? Everyone's welcome. It's just a different situation right now. That's all.
As long as the rules are posted and everyone's aware, there should be no issues. You know, you
Right,
take
and we
your
just
own risk.
right,
You know,
right. Ben
if
Ben
they don't have
just
signs up, if they don't have the word out, then there's another issue there. But,
agree, and I think Milford residents know. I mean, we just got another voicemail from Ben Blake today. We got a text. Well, at least I got a mass text message with all these rules. But like this, like I use the example of Fairfield. Does Fairfield know that? You know, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that, because I would assume like Fairfield, West Haven, any of these shore communities probably have similar rules. Like if we went to Fairfield,
well,
we're probably going to get ticketed. I don't know what the rules are, but
I
that's
don't
the
know if
example.
West Haven opened back up, but West Haven just closed everything.
Yeah.
Where Milford stayed open, and that was part of the reason that they had to make the decision, say Milford residents only, because we're doing our part to socially distance, and all of a sudden we can't have, you know, hundreds of people come from out of town to visit our beach because we remain to stay open. You know.
Right. Yeah. I'm just typing something real quick. Makes sense. Heiza, I don't know if you saw the Parade of Smiles. That was actually, I don't know if you actually saw it, but I know you were supposed to be involved on Thursday. And the Parade of Smiles was basically the school systems. It was the principals, the teachers, volunteers. Went from every school, and they actually grouped the schools, and they did a complete car parade around the city of Milford. It went right by our house, and you know, I didn't know what to expect, but then when I saw it go by, I was kind of like emotional. It was very cool in my mind.
Yeah, it was definitely a nice touch. Something that doesn't need to happen. Didn't you know, wasn't required by anyone that participated, but it was much appreciated by everyone that saw it. I know my kids loved seeing their teachers hang out the window. You know, I think the teachers are so excited to see kids.
Yeah, absolutely.
My daughter's third grade teacher almost like veered off the road because she was waving too much and not watching the road. But you know, it was a nice touch and a good ending to what has been a tumultuous year. You know, education wise. 2020,
not even just education. 2020 has been an interesting year. For a lot of different reasons, and
we got 6 more months.
Yeah, right.
We're halfway through it, you know, and hopefully some good things will come of this year. But you never know. I mean, so speaking of 2020, there's been a lot of things going on, and I think I would like to get to our guests. There's 2 of our guests have been patiently waiting in the, let's call it the online green room.
The green room.
The green room, yes, where they get to watch us talk like imbeciles on camera.
The newest addition to Milford Radio is the green room.
That's right. That's right.
No refreshments, though.
Yeah. Bring your own refreshments. That's right.
Yeah,
so we have Sarah. Here's Sarah, and here is Alice. Sarah and Alice, welcome to the show. Can you hear us? Okay.
Yep, we can hear you.
Hello. How are you?
Hello.
All right.
I'm good. You.
That's great. Alice,
thanks for joining us.
Alice, could I see if I could hear you? I didn't hear you, I don't think.
Can you hear me?
Yes, you're good.
Okay.
Good to go. Awesome. So first of all, you guys, 2 allies from the Black Lives Matter, both were involved in the solidarity protest here in Milford. So we want to welcome you to the show, and maybe we jump right into to ask you how you guys got involved with this. Have you been involved in other movements? Tell us a little bit about the background of this.
Okay, I think we've tried to sort of like sort out who's going to talk about what, but we can always shift if you want to. But so my name's Sarah. I use she, her pronouns. That can be a whole other show sometime, but just wanted to put that out there for a lot of our allies. And how it started really is that I mean, have been involved in other volunteering with other groups of people. A lot of them are marginalized groups of people. And I just like volunteering. I like trying to be a good neighbor. And when I saw what was happening, I was like, oh my gosh, you know, like Alice was doing a bunch of things themselves about like around Black Lives Matter. And I was kind of thinking, okay, well, I'm a white person. I'm seeing Darien have events. I'm seeing Fairfield having events. Like every town was having events. And I kept thinking, I'm going to hear something soon about what Milford's doing. And then I just didn't. So Alice and I, and maybe 2 other people started saying, well, is it our place to do something as white people? I don't know. But so we came up with the idea of doing something rather than just sitting and waiting because it felt wrong. It felt like by doing nothing, like being silent, that we were, like my shirt kind of says, it's like white silence equals white consent. It means if you don't say something, it sort of might be that you agree with what's going on. So we didn't want that. And we knew a lot of people in Milford who are really kind people that agreed with what we were thinking. So we're like, how about this idea? It may not, we really preferred Black Milford residents to have initiated something that we could have supported. But when we didn't see that happening, we thought, okay, well, white people in Darien are marching, white people in Fairfield are marching. How about we just put something together and maybe they'll come? It was a little bit backwards. Maybe it's like make a flyer, put it out there, and then maybe we'll find some black neighbors and Black and brown neighbors who will step forward and say, I have a story I'd like to tell you. I have an experience I'd like to share. And that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to hold space for those voices and meet people who would be brave enough to step forward, share their stories, and then we could be there to support them and help them feel safe to have those conversations. So that was our purpose in getting started in doing that. And then once they step forward, it's our job to step back. So I don't know if that answers your question about like why we did it.
Yeah. No, it absolutely does. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I will say, I was telling the guys last week and on the show, because sometimes I just feel like I'm talking to, in this case, 4 other people. But so I've never been to a protest in my life of any kind. When you ran this solidarity protest, I felt it was important. I have a 14-year-old son, and I felt it was important that he should experience something like this. I haven't since I was a kid. So my wife and I brought him there, and I have to say it was pretty eye-opening to me on how, I almost want to say the word beautiful. I mean, the speakers were amazing. It really was great. I mean, and it opened the eyes to my son to be like, wow, this is a much bigger issue than he even thought at 14 years old. So maybe some feedback from you. How did the outcome of the protest work in your mind? Was the attendance right? How did that look in your eyes?
Do you want that one, Alice?
Sure.
Okay.
You can hear me, right?
Yeah.
We can.
Okay. We were very happy that everyone who came wore their masks over their noses and mouths. And I went around and reminded people who didn't have their masks up yet to put their masks on when they broke 6 feet. And everyone listened, and they were all respectful of the COVID rules. And the amount of people that showed up for a 93% white town that has never talked about racism really, that was 1,000 people roughly, was really great. And everyone who came was peaceful and had great supportive signs. And our Black community members who came said that they felt really supported and safe with all of the white neighbors who came to hear them and stand with them. And we were really happy with it. That's
great. That's great to hear. It was an interesting, interesting is the wrong word. It was a great event. And as I said, I didn't know what to expect, going into that with no history, being at protests or anything like that. I mean, kneeling for 8 minutes and 46 seconds was mind blowing to kind of put that into perspective on, what happened in real life. And then to watch that many people in my area. I happen to be, I don't know, I think it's the north side, North Broad Street. There was not a phone that rang. There was not a baby that cried. It was literally silent, at least in my area. And it was very good to see. And so the next question I have for you guys was, in your opinion, not just in Milford, but outside, basically nationally, what is the main goal of Black Lives Matter protest? And do you see that in Milford, what the main mission is for these protests.
Wow, I don't know if I should. Maybe we can like a little bit of that because first of all, if you want to answer it, Alice, it's great. I just wanted to just say this disclaimer before we go any farther is that we don't represent. Alice and I don't represent any group, and we don't represent Black Lives Matter group. We're an ally group, and we want to be supportive. But as white people, we can't. I don't think we can speak for Black Lives Matter, but we can speak to our understanding of the movement, of course. Does that sound right to you, Alice? That we are not a group. We're like four people, honestly. Mm-hmm. We don't have, and I think that's kind of cool that it's like that speaks to like what individuals can do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 4 people that brought 1,000 people together.
Right. So Alice, what do you want to talk about?
So for the national goals for Black Lives Matter, different states and different municipalities have their own specific goals, but nationally, Black Lives Matter movement wants the divestment from police because education has been getting defunded for years. And so divesting from police would mean that we take a lot of pressure off of their shoulders because police officers can't be mental health experts when there's a mental health call. Instead of having police go and not know exactly what to do, there would be a unit of mental health professionals like EMTs for physical health problems. There would be mental health EMTs for people who are having a mental break. And that accounts for a lot of police brutality and police shootings, both Black and white people, but majority Black people. So that's the defunding part. And it's also calling attention to all of this systemic racism in various systems of the United States, including the health system. A lot of doctors and med students are still taught that Black people feel less pain or that they have a higher pain tolerance. So Black patients receive less pain medication than white patients. And the education system still also teaches a lot of whitewashed history and a lot of myths around American history. And so the Black Lives Matter isn't just about police, and it's very hard to pinpoint specific goals because it's different for each level or area that they're protesting. And for Milford, we don't have specific goals yet. We're just saying that, yeah, we agree and we see your suffering and your pain and we want it to stop too. So we don't have specific goals for our own city, and maybe we will in the future. But yeah, in order to find goals for specific areas, you have to look it up. And it's different.
I definitely would agree that it's probably a lot has to do with region, right? And we're gonna have different priorities in different regions. As I've been trying to approach everything that's happened with just more open ears and mouth shut. I'm just trying to listen and absorb and try to have empathy for everyone involved on both sides. For someone that is a major supporter of Black Lives Matters or of your group and just really kind of coming up and getting your voices heard and allowing a platform for other people to have their voices heard. What are some actionable items or steps that people can take that are on the outside listening that you feel would make a big impact for the movement?
So the main thing that we want to make voting accessible for everyone because there's a lot of voter suppression nationwide. And one of the things is having the mail-in ballots during COVID because we have to let the elderly and we have to let the immune compromised people vote safely. And if everyone was able to vote, that would mean that everyone would have a voice in the system, because people riot when their voices aren't heard through
So
any other means.
how would the individual go about to getting that word out and trying to help support that movement? And what are things that someone's sitting in their living room right now listening? Is it money? Is it support? Is it writing a letter? Like, how can they take action?
There is there's the Connecticut Bail Fund, and I don't have the link off the top of my head, but the Connecticut Bail Fund is a really good place to send money to, because it gets peaceful protesters and reporters and the people who were arrested but under suspicious circumstances. The Connecticut Bail Fund bails them out so that they don't have to wait in jail until their trial. And there's also call lists that are available. If you go to Justice for Jason on Facebook, JAYSON, they have a call list for Bridgeport, because Bridgeport is a completely different situation than Milford. And Bridgeport, for Bridgeport, they have a call list for all of the council members, because they have been trying to get police accountability and transparency given to them for years, and their city hasn't been accountable or transparent with them.
And for voting, we're voting specifically. Sorry, I was going to say about the voting that you brought up. Calling our legislators is always a good idea. Don't be shy. Call the mayor, call our senators and representatives, find out who they are. We hired them with our votes, and they're there for us, and let them know what's important to you. Say, having an election that's fair and socially just is important to me. Please do, what you can on that. And there are small things you can do, like Mark, by taking your son to that event, you're showing him your values. And our parents are our kids' first teachers. So by having conversations, sometimes that was part of our purpose too with our event, is to get the ball rolling on conversations. And around race, my gosh, they're often not comfortable, but they're so important. And modeling for your children, don't just let your kids pick up what the values you want them to have from people around them. Make it clear to them what your values are. It's a great thing to talk about with your kids, and you can make your solidarity with Black Lives Matter and your Black neighbors visible. You could put a sign up on your car or in your house, or wear a t-shirt. Those are little tiny things, but I can tell you, since I started wearing shirts and putting signs on things, how many people have come up to me and said, "Hey, I like your shirt. Hey, I appreciate that. That means something to me." And it's those small things, but I mean, what Alice is talking about is huge. But also even Google, you can Google what can we do to be good allies. Mm-hmm. There are things that everybody can do what they can do.
Right. So you organized. You mentioned 4 people put together basically 1,000 people on the green in Milford. It was a peaceful protest, and like I mentioned before, the speakers that you had were awesome. There was some high school kids. It was really good. What was the process with the city? Did you need permits? I know there was a police presence? I mean, they shut down most of the green. I saw the chief there, who was right up near the front. What are your thoughts on the event itself in the Milford Police Department?
The Milford Police Department was very supportive of our protest, and they were proactive in protecting us from any counter protesters who were angry about a protest that was anti-racism. And after a couple incidents with with two of our people, the police tracked down the two guys that were involved in that very quickly. So the Milford PD was incredibly supportive, and they've put out a lot of statements that is very clear about their support of the movement nationwide and the call for reform, because Milford PD has a pretty good track record for protecting and serving us. And Milford PD is a role model for how other police departments should respond to this, because they're protecting and serving, and they listened to our Black community cry out nationwide, and they're like, you know what, you're right. Yeah, we see the videos. This does need a change, and we'll be right there with you. And
that's really great to hear about the Milford.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. Go ahead.
Police officers like at the Milford PD, when the police departments are divested from, and like whatever happens, if it's smaller police units, and then there's the mental health units and traffic units, officers like at the Milford PD are going to have jobs doing that, because they're good at their job and they're good at protecting and serving. And so I think that's also why they have been so supportive of us, because they know that they have nothing to worry about, because they know that they're good cops.
Yeah, that makes sense. So I don't want to keep you all night, but the last question I have is, and then maybe you could each, if there's anything additional that you'd want to add in, is there more to come? Is there more from Milford in particular? Is there more to come to this community as far as solidarity protests, maybe something else? And I'll leave it, maybe Alice, start with you. You're shaking your head.
Oh no, Sarah's got the answer for this one, but I'm shaking my head.
Oh,
we know the answer.
Okay. So when you have four people, you're like, we've got a lot of ideas, but we need some more people in on this. So right now, we hope people will reach out to us and who have ideas, because like I said, we wanted to start the ball rolling on a conversation, but not just a conversation between, just. And in lots of, that wasn't my stomach, was it? What was that sound? I heard it. No, I'm muted.
No, we can't hear
you,
me, Sarah. Can you?
All right, I'll start over. Can you hear me? Now, can you hear me? Yes, you can hear me?
Yes.
I can't hear you? Okay.
Now we can.
Now we're back. Okay. Oh, okay, great. Okay. So yes, we wanted to start the ball rolling on a conversation, but this has been a problem for Black lives for 400 years. We can't expect, the civils in the 60s, they gave it a shot, got some things done, but we're not done. We're clearly not done when our neighbors are saying that they can't, that once their 3-year-old child grows up to be not so cute anymore, they have to start really worrying and have these talks with their kids. And it's just not any way I want my neighbors to have to live. It's just not right. So we need to have more conversations. And of course, so we're going to be, I think, reaching out to maybe the clergy. I don't know if you saw that they were another group who had an event. Did you see about that?
Yeah, they're down, lying down.
They did the lying down thing. Yeah. And so I'm like, hey, let's reach out to them, see what their ideas are. I think COVID obviously makes this all more difficult, but we should, the libraries, the schools, every facet of our community, our churches, we should all be figuring out what can we do to be better neighbors.
How do people find you? So it sounds like you have a small group of people that did something pretty large, and now you're looking for basically the army of volunteers to come support and come up with more ideas. So how do people contact you?
Gosh, nothing else. I didn't actually say that, but
we have 2 different Facebook groups, and the one that is visible to everyone is semi-related. It's Milford, Connecticut Neighborhood Connections, and I made it several years ago because the other Milford Facebook groups aren't moderated against hate and threats and bullying and harassment. And so I made the group, and I actually moderate against all of that. So if people want to reach out to us, they can enter that group, and then we can add them to another group, because there are people in Milford who are really angry about speaking up against racism, and so the other group is hidden, and we've already had some incidents of people who are angry lashing out, and the Milford police again were fantastic and tracked down those guys really fast. But yeah, the main group is hidden, but the Milford, Connecticut Neighborhood Connections group is public, and people can find that, and I can add them into the other group.
That's great to know. So Alice, Sarah, any last comments that you want to make before we let you enjoy the rest of your evening?
Alice, we should give a shout out to the 2 businesses who supported us the most. Well, who supported in big ways, right? Yeah.
Yeah, there was 2 small businesses that are in the center of town that handed out water and masks to people who came to our protest. And it was Hawkwood Games Cafe and Archeolo's Shoes. And Excellent. They did that, and we didn't ask them to do that. And they just did it because they know what community means.
They're both very good businesses, and I didn't know that either. And I'm glad that you mentioned those two names.
Right. Yeah, they're terrific. We'll probably think of other things later, but ongoing conversation. And we hope that to just get to know more good neighbors. And thank you all for all you're doing to share the message and to
Absolutely.
raise your own kids to know what your values are.
Right.
It's really important. Parents are kids' best teachers.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Alice and Sarah, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. And as things keep rolling and events pop up, we have our contact information. We've been in communication, so feel free to reach out.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you for everything. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, that was Sarah and Alice. Very cool interview, because I like the story of a handful of people doing something bigger than what you would potentially think they could do. 4 people, it started with 2, then maybe went to 4, and they put together an event that I attended that there was close to 1,000 people, including the police, shutting down the green, great speeches, kneeling in complete silence, about 1,000 people. It's very cool, and I love those kind of stories and people stepping up and doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I really enjoy. I'm intrigued in the fact that same thing, like 4 people can put together like such a really strong, positive event. And, we've lived in Milford, most of our lives, and we know that when things are done the right way, you will get community support. So it was, great to see that this event was put together. It was successful, and they had reached the goals that they set for, this protest. And, it's going to be interesting to see, what they can do in the future, too. All of these Black Lives Matters protests, the voices are being heard in a big way. There's a lot of things that are happening in the government from these, and it's a result from these. And it's nice to see that Milford had a positive impact on that.
Yeah, I totally agree. So it's I'm happy that Alice and Sarah joined us, kind of putting a face, to the name and also to the event. And it sounds like they're just people looking to do the right thing, and not so much was looking to do this event or be behind this, but said, hey, enough's enough. No one else is stepping up, so let us step up and take care of business, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a good message. When someone sees a void, or speaking up for someone that maybe doesn't have that same voice or platform in certain situations, to have that passion and energy to go out and do something is something that could be applied to a lot of our aspects of life. So it's good to see that you acted out on that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. It was good to see, and a good story. So we were just talking about other states earlier. Heiser, you're heading up to Rhode Island. I'm going to be heading over to Jersey to visit some beaches. But New Yorkers, there was an article that came out, I think it was the New York Times. And New Yorkers, obviously, New York City was hit really hard. Basically, the biggest hit from COVID-19 was New York City. It's the epicenter.
Yeah.
So they meaning people who live in New York City, are getting out, and they have been getting out since like March, since all of this stuff has been going on. So I found this article, and this article said, and I'm going to throw this out to you guys: mass hysteria, people leaving New York City. There's a list of 1,000 locations that the majority of these people are going to, and it's around the world. I mean, London's on the list, and Portugal, and all sorts of different areas. Where do you think Milford, Connecticut, literally the city of Milford, Connecticut, is listed on the top 1,000 in the world on where New Yorkers are going and relocating?
Well, we're a train ride down.
Yeah, very close.
Hour and a half away.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Probably some more affordable real estate and whatnot compared to some other towns on the way.
Taxes
So
are better.
I'm going to guess, so 1 to 1,000?
1 to 1,000.
758.
Okay. Zeke?
I'm going to guess out of 1,000, 510.
Not close. Milford was the 20th on the list. In the entire world, Milford, Connecticut was number 20. And I'm actually
it makes sense. Yeah. No, I mean, maybe not 20, but definitely, just location. It makes sense. They're not selling their houses and running. They're renting or whatever else and driving down the shore. So
if you go down to East Broadway, you go down any of these beach areas in Milford, pay attention next time, because I know all three of us visit, are the beach areas in Milford. Take a look at the amount of New York plates. It's eye-opening. Miami, Florida, Philadelphia, Bridgeport, Stamford, so Stamford, Norwalk area, Washington, D.C., L.A., Boston, and then it goes on and on. And we are right next to Tampa, Florida.
Wow.
Number 20.
Yeah, so I was home Sunday, and I was like, I'm going to go down to New York City. I actually wanted to go check it out and see what New York City looks like at this moment. So jumped on the train, and I headed down into New York, wore a mask, brought sanitizer with me. I didn't touch or eat anything, just because things are still kind of crazy down there. But I get off the train, and I go into Grand Central Station. It's probably 11 in the morning on Sunday, and there was 5 people in Grand Central Station.
Unbelievable.
At one point, it was probably around 1:30 in the afternoon. I had walked from Madison Square Garden over to Times Square, and there's a picture. And as you can see, I think you can count 10 people in that picture. There's probably a few more than that, but it's it was eerie. The streets, Fifth Avenue, 42nd Street, the heart of New York City. There were people literally sitting in the middle of the road taking selfie pictures down Fifth Avenue and 42nd Street. It we were just there for the Knicks game. When was that? January?
That's right.
Yeah, and the city was humming that night.
It was booming.
Yeah, and I was literally at Madison Square Garden, and there were no taxis.
That was a Thursday night, I think, or Wednesday night, Wednesday or Thursday night. Yeah,
we went. Yeah,
and it's absolutely Rockefeller Center. I walked over there. I wanted to go to like the areas that would potentially have the most people. And Rockefeller Center, 0 people. No one was in Rockefeller Center. St. Patrick's Cathedral on a Sunday, they have services and everything. 0. They weren't even letting anyone in. It was eye-opening for sure, and you just hope you never see New York City like that ever again. It was really eerie.
Yeah, it is crazy. The whole thing, from the COVID to murder hornets. I know I bring up murder hornets every week, but the need that we have to have protests. There still is racism. There's just so many things going on in this world right now. This is a global issue, especially the COVID thing. That we're halfway through it. We mentioned before the show, we're halfway through the year. We're in June. We have 6 more months. We're hoping, that good things are ahead of us. I'm not looking forward to the flu season this coming winter, but with all the beaches concepts, all the issues going on with COVID and the issues that were happening at the beach, and it seems like the city of Milford is kind of cleaning that up with the police department. Our mayor, Ben Blake, made an announcement today, and kind of in a nutshell, it was a longer voicemail and text that came through today. But while this new order expands the use of beaches and beyond passive recreation, it requires spacing of 15 feet or more between beach blankets and asks beachgoers to follow enhanced safety measures. Moreover, swimming will be permitted at one's own risk, as lifeguard staff will be reassigned as beach monitors. Today also marks the beginning of Connecticut's Phase 2, which reopens local stores like the Connecticut Post Mall and restaurants offering outdoor and some indoor dining options. At these reopened establishments, patrons are required to practice social distancing, wear face coverings if in close contact. Bottom line, if everyone plays it like a normal human being that doesn't want to get sick and doesn't want to get other people sick, we're going to be in a good situation. Meaning there's states like, what was it, Florida, and is it Texas is the other one, that they opened up basically willy-nilly, and they're actually starting to reverse things now, and things are
they are. Yeah, Florida is definitely in that category.
Right. So we just got to be smart. I mean, it's coming from the mayor, that is coming from the governor and the president and Dr. Fauci and all these people. It makes sense, whether you're afraid of COVID or not. Like, you're a strong-willed 24-year-old, mule of a guy who's just never gets sick. Put on a mask, because you could get my parents sick who are in their 70s, or you could get someone's grandparents sick. Like, this is not about each one of us, it's about all of us. And it's annoying the crap out of me that people can't just put on a piece of thing over their face.
Yeah. It's just, the rules are there for a reason, and just follow them. It's being socially responsible. Like you said, it's not just protecting yourself, it's protecting others around you. And we're all itching to get back to the game. We all want to see, we all want to go to Yankee Stadium. We all want to be able to go to a concert and all the fun things that we work so hard every day to provide for ourselves and our families and everything else. But, if we don't follow the rules, we're not going to get there. So,
right. We're just spinning our wheels to go back into the same thing and no one likes to be shut down and, stuck in your house and, forced to be stuck in your house. It's one thing if you decide I don't want to leave the house for 2 months, but it's another thing where the government is saying you have to stay home. That's not cool. That's not fun.
Yeah,
and I think
you don't want that to happen at all.
No. So with that being said, Connecticut's COVID positive rate is one of the lowest in the country right now. Yesterday, out of the numbers as of yesterday were out of 7,200 tests, about 147 of them were positive. that's pretty good. I think that's at that 2% rate. As of now, Milford has around 650 positive cases. If that stat stays the same at that 2%, that's about 13 potential deaths here in Connecticut, which nobody, not one death. If the answer was there was going to be one death in Connecticut, nobody wants that. But it does look like, the numbers look like, and again, from third-party real stats, Heiza, you found that great site that I keep going to get my information out, is not
That's pretty awesome.
awesome. And I'll go to that site all the time now, and I'm probably going to do a paid subscription there for other things. But it's not what CNN is saying. It's not what Fox News is saying, or ABC or CBS. It's stats from reputable colleges and world information. Our numbers are coming down here in Connecticut, and it's because we're doing the right thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Unless more of New York keeps moving in Milford, then as long as they're wearing masks, we're good, right?
Yeah.
And we keep finding them $90 for parking near our beaches. Oh man. Who has the Law and Foreign released their valedictorian and salutatorian? Does anyone have that information?
I wasn't named. I don't know. I didn't get the.
I have it here.
I don't have it.
Law's top school honors. Valedictorian was Madeline. What?
I said, I found it.
Yeah. The valedictorian was
the decimal system there.
Yeah, that was. I'm going to pretend I don't see it. Let Mark start it, so I don't have to say it. The law top honors, the valedictorian was Madeline Papkin, and the salutatorian was Arunika Shi.
Arunika.
Arunika Shi.
Arunika Shi.
Yeah. All right, Zeke. You'll get the easier names on foreign. Who were the valedictorian and salutatorian?
So the valedictorian for foreign high school was Andre Jin. And the salutatorian was Brianna Aguilar.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Nice job, guys.
Congrats. My name was never even close to being on that list. Heiza was probably, out of us three, probably Heiza was probably the closest.
I fell off senior year big time. I admit that.
I was good being right in the middle.
Yeah.
I represented the lower and hung out with the higher there, so it was good.
I needed, I beat in my class rank. I beat Jay Franks by 1. Whatever number I was, he was the next name below me, and it was not very high. It was towards the middle to bottom middle. Probably if Heiza was middle, I was bottom middle. So we were talking about this before we run, and I know we have to go in a minute, but there's a big project that is being planned for Foreign High. It's at the Foreign High area, but it's for their fields. This is not final yet. I think it's at the Inland Wetlands Commission. That's about where the planning is, because they have to give okay for this. And Zeke, like you said, it was too bad that we couldn't talk to Dan Worrell about this last week.
Yeah, I know. It's big news.
It is. So what they're planning on doing is at Foreign, I don't even know if it's still their soccer field, because soccer probably uses the football field. I don't know. Zeke, you were soccer at Foreign, weren't you?
Yeah, I played my freshman year, yeah. And it was just on that one main road what's that? I don't know the name of that road. French Drive, yeah. I almost said Foot, but yeah, French Drive. That field was a mess, man.
It was.
Yeah, always
flooded all the time.
Yeah, big time.
Look at Ryan Dooley's comment here. Ryan should call in. We graduated high school with him. He said, Mark, you're a valedictorian of our hearts. That's very nice. Thanks, Ryan. That was Carl Shortino, right? Heiza?
Salutatorian, right? No, valedictorian.
Yeah.
He was our valedictorian.
Yeah. So Milford's planning on this huge conversion of taking that field, which used to be the soccer field on French Drive. It's actually the new Danny Kemp next to that. So if you're looking at the field, to the left of it is the new Foreign softball field, the Danny Kemp field. which is awesome. It's
That
like
looks great. It's awesome.
It's beautiful. So what they're planning on doing is kind of taking that model and putting up, I think it's a few, I want to say at least 2 fields. It would be synthetic turf with a baseball overlay, new fencing, ball safety, seating, and other improvements are all being planned. There's a public hearing at the Inland Wetlands Commission. It's going to be held at 3 p.m. on June 19th via Zoom. So you could find that information. I would suggest, I mean, this is going to be good for the city because it's not just foreign fields, it's city fields. So it's going to help our little leagues, softball leagues, lacrosse teams, basically very similar to what the YMCA did. Those are city fields, not YMCA fields. And it does help the youth football teams, lacrosse teams, and all that kind of stuff. So it'd be nice to see.
Yeah, it's going to be cool.
We should get Zeke out there playing soccer again.
No.
He's going out there.
Me and my arthritic knees.
We could do it through Zoom or like on a video game or something. All right, guys.
96.
Yeah, 96. Zeke was 92?
Yeah, 92.
FIFA 92.
That was still Nintendo days, I think.
Yeah.
Or maybe Sega Genesis was out.
That was a little earlier. It was definitely Nintendo.
Yeah. Okay. Any closing thoughts, guys, on today? We had Alice and Sarah on. Before we close, I just want to thank them. We're almost out of time, but any thoughts from you guys?
Yeah, I want to thank them for their time and the interest that they're putting behind the movement and gathering speed that way with people that have like minds there. I also want to thank the boys in blue for being on the right side of things in all manners, Milford, and appreciate them. And happy Father's Day to everyone out there.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, I did. This is a great show. I mean, it really just gives you a lot of pride to be a part of Milford and anything you're doing, and to see some Milford residents really stepping up makes you just feel good to say, hey, yeah, I am a Milfordite and I'll help anything to, do anything to help out the city. It was a really, really, really good show. It was great.
Yeah, I think in general.
And happy Father's Day to you guys.
Thank you. Thank you, Dan.
And everyone listening.
Yeah, absolutely. Milford Radio. Listen to us every week. Like our Facebook page, our YouTube page. Just be involved. We would love to take your calls too. You just have to click the link that we put into the comments. But the show, it's pretty cool to be able to interview so many different people about what's going on in Milford. So if you have any ideas about the show or you want to be on the show, reach out to us at milfordradio@gmail.com. We're always answering emails there. Our staffers and all of the people back at the office. So
keep the interns busy. You got to keep the interns busy.
Yeah,
you have to. They're not getting college credits for nothing. So peace out, everybody. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next week here on Milford Radio, and have a great Father's Day. We love all you dads out there.
It's not shown on maps of the world or even on small maps of the United States. But a traveler driving along the coast of Connecticut is certain to come to Milford, a community of 18,000 people. Milford is prettier than some towns and older than most. But the important thing about Milford is not its age or how it looks, but that as a community, a place where people live and work, it is like other communities all over the United States. The story of how Milford began, how it grew, and what its people do every day is much the same as that of thousands of other towns. Early morning in Milford finds some people already at work. What they are doing will be helpful to others when the rest of the town wakes up. And then when the others get up, they are soon busy with their own affairs. Phil, for instance, must take to school the model he built of the post office. It's for a class project in geography. As usual, his mother was seeing to it that her family has a good breakfast, and Phil's dad glances at the morning paper before leaving for his office. Right on the front page, there's a story telling about the study of Milford to be made by Phil's class. This reminds them that Phil ought to be dressed by now so that he can start for school on time.